So in this video, we're going to discuss something that you pointed out when we were discussing this months and months ago about the NASA moon landings and even a little bit of the flat Earth theory that we've been investigating, and that is Werner von Braun. And people, especially people that were born after the year 2000, may not be familiar with who this gentleman is. So, Jay, tell us who Werner von Braun is.
Yeah, so he's known as the father of rocketry, and I had actually heard of Werner von Braun years ago during my UFO research. His name kept coming up during the Operation Paperclip years. He was the guy, he was the most well-known scientist that we got after World War II as part of Operation Paperclip, when we took some of Germany's top scientists and brought them over here and put them to work.
Was that the conspiracy theory, just off topic for a second, where they said the Nazis were reverse engineering UFO technology, alien technology?
Yeah, it's amazing how a lot of this stuff overlaps. The Germany, the Antarctica, the scientists, the paperclip.
Oh, you're getting a whole other series of videos.
It really does overlap. But yes, to answer your question, it does. He was brought over during that. The theory goes that they were reverse engineering things, and UFO people say that's why we took their top scientists and, started reverse engineering. But that's where I had heard of Werner von Braun. Then fast forward to, earlier this year, in doing all of our flat Earth research, a little unknown tidbit about Werner von Braun comes up, and that is regarding his tombstone, his headstone.
Yeah. Now, just to give you a little history, that he's actually credited in a way, I don't know if this is official, for creating NASA.
Right. He is one of the founding fathers. Himself, Walt Disney is even mentioned in there. Jack Parsons from the JPL labs are the fathers of NASA. And Werner is the father of rocketry. So, we're talking about the years in between World War II and the moon landing, the late 40s, throughout the 50s, this is when all this stuff was happening.
War ended in 45, and then from that point on, von Braun was brought on to do all the NASA stuff. And
Correct.
Was he involved with the nuclear? That was Oppenheimer. Did he have any involvement with that, or just rockets?
Just rockets.
Saturn V, I think he helped develop the Saturn series of rockets.
Correct. And, you can't find his name directly attached to things like Operation Fishbowl. However, if the military and the space program are working on firing missiles up into the sky, one would think that the father of rocketry was probably consulted on it. Just supposing there.
That would be common sense to do that. Now, we get to the gravestone. This is the point of this video, and this is really just kind of odd. On his gravestone, obviously, has his birth date and his death date, but it also has a Bible passage. Now, before we even read the Bible passage, you have a quote from his book, his biography someone wrote about his life, which talked about something that made the gravestone inscription that even has any Bible verse in it.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. The religious background of Werner von Braun was what I was looking into, and I came across some quotes from the biography entitled Werner von Braun, Crusader for Space. This is from pages 269, 270. Von Braun had answered some questions before his death in a very religious manner regarding God. Now, I'm quoting now. Those who had known von Braun before the late 50s may have been very surprised by his answer. Throughout his younger years, von Braun did not show signs of religious devotion or even an interest in things related to the church or biblical teachings. In fact, he was known to his friends as a merry heathen. Those who knew him, though, through the 60s and 70s, noticed that during these years that a new element began to surface in his conversations and also in his speeches and his writings, a growing interest in religious thought. So, I guess my question was answered because I was wondering if this man was always a religious guy. But it turns out that he became religious in the late 50s and throughout the 60s. Prior to that, the guy was known as a merry heathen.
Speculation, just our speculation, sees that from the time that he was part of the Nazi party and then brought over here at 45, he was a merry heathen. And then it seems like maybe some information came across his desk or with his experience that made him change his mind, that he found God. Now, most people that are religious, I was raised Catholic, I'm a Christian. You try to put, at least in some regards, you put a message on your gravestone to leave behind. You put a Bible verse, you put a message, or I'm going to miss you all, or anything like that.
Survived by his children.
Yeah, but you usually try to put an inspirational message if you can, something you were known for.
Right.
So, knowing that from the way I was raised and going to many Catholic and Christian funerals and seeing those gravestones, made, this Bible passage out of, I don't know, hundreds or 1,000 or whatever you have in the Bible, Old and New Testament, the fact that Werner Von Braun used Psalms 19:1, and for people that aren't familiar with that, I'm going to read it for you. Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God. Now, that's pretty good, but that's only one half of the psalm. The other half is the one that just kind of blows my mind. And the firmament showeth his handiwork. Now, somebody that was part of the NASA, that founded NASA, that was part of the space program, the moon landing, all this stuff, put this particular passage as what I've been raised for, and raised, to see a gravestone as the last parting message from the deceased, has to do with something that's connected to the flat earth theory.
Correct. And the flat earth theorists say that many of them suggest that there is a firmament or a dome-like roof above the earth that prevents us from going deep into space, which is why we can go no higher than lower orbit. And so you have to ask yourselves, why did Werner Von Braun, the father of rocketry, the guy who was a founder of NASA, why did he change his religious beliefs throughout his life? And why did he use a scripture referring to the firmament being the handiwork of God on his headstone?